The lands between is definitely one of the last places you'd ever want to end up. A massive, sprawling expanse of diverse and unique environments that come in various flavours of what can roughly be described as hell on Earth. So that begs the question, if you were to be dropped into the world of Elden Ring, where exactly would you want to end up? And is there anywhere that you could actually make a decent life for yourself? Well, today we'll set out to answer that question. Thanks for clicking on this video, guys, and with the intro out of the way, let's dive right into it. Starting off this list is lovely Limgrave, sporting stunning ocean views, wide open plains, and only one fire-breathing dragon. Not bad. Limgrave is definitely one of the safer areas in terms of its landscape. Add the fact that some semblance of law and order has actually been kept here means you could probably live a kinda somewhat normal life. Limgrave might be mostly free of natural dangers, but make no mistake, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as at any one time half the damn country is completely engulfed in perpetual fucking wind. Just like home. But a light breeze never hurt anyone. Areas to avoid though include the Weeping Peninsula, which is currently experiencing a mostly peaceful protest, and pretty much any woodland. That part is self-explanatory. Limgrave does have the unfortunate addition of the world's worst landlord, Godric the Grafted. Mr. Hands over here expects his rent to be paid in full every month, or by God he'll tax you an arm and a leg as interest. Literally. Despite his hoity-toity nature and ego at least twice the size of the massive dragon dick he grafted onto himself, Godric might actually be smarter than most people give him credit for. Cause despite taking L after L in the order department during the Shattering, his political manoeuvring has actually left Limgrave in one of the least fucked positions in terms of devastation per square mile. Though that doesn't stop his subjects from lovingly referring to him as a
jumped up country bumpkin.
Just ignore the horrific human experimentation and try not to get on his bad side and you should be good. So for all that, I'll give Limgrave an A tier. Do you like wet socks? Are you completely insane? Then the festering swampland known as Liurnia is the place for you. A land of water, and more water. The countryside of this place doesn't really have much going for it. Roving bands of rogue knights prowl the one and only highway, and the only house that isn't half sunk into the fucking ground is inhabited by disembodied human hands, a life-size Chucky doll, and a sex offender. Supposedly though, the lobster meat here is to die for, but I don't know how the hell anyone managed to figure that out considering they're the size of school buses and have fucking Barrett 50 cals for mouths. In truth, the only reason you would possibly want to go anywhere near this shithole is to attend schizophrenic Hogwarts, I mean Rhea Lucaria. If you can manage to bag yourself a scholarship at this prestigious academy, then you're in for a real treat. You can attend lectures from the finest teachers in the world, engage in friendly competition with your classmates, and participate in this state-of-the-art assault course. Of course, the student accommodation is top of the line. Just watch you don't trip and fall into the basement or get abducted by one of the cleaning ladies, lest you end up in the on-site cemetery. Yes, due to the lack of funding for repairs and competitive nature of the students, the mortality rate here is similar to that of an active war zone. Being the best ain't easy, alright? And don't even think about taking your complaints to the headmistress, because you're just as likely to get sucked up into her amber egg and shat back out as one of these fucking goblins than her actually doing anything to help. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, still don't fix it. Liurnia certainly doesn't seem ideal looking in, but plenty of people still manage to live here, so it can't be that bad. I'll give it a C tier. Caelid. If there was a place that could be described as perfect, it would be here. Enjoy the scenic views, study the wildlife, interact with the locals. Truly paradise on earth. Okay, sarcasm aside, Caelid, aka Satan's ass crack, is just about the last place you'd ever want to end up. You better hope you brought some preserving boluses, because here the earth itself wants you dead. The air is full of brain-eating scarlet rot spores, a result of Malenia's last visit, where she kindly left her eldritch yeast infection as a parting gift. Now, a few hundred years down the line, and the land itself looks like it could use some anti-burn cream. This place is coated in a thick layer of dangerous, mushy fungus that can and will slowly eat your insides. I'd give it a few months tops till you start coughing up organs and watching them get swallowed up by what you thought was a brick road. That is if you even make it a few months, as the wildlife here tends not to be very friendly. The brazen bull would probably make for a less painful death than what would happen if you even attempt to eat any of the plant life here, and so literally everything is a carnivore, and also massive, and also fucking zombified. And God forbid you make the mistake of walking into the giant fire-breathing lizard nest, but to be honest that's kinda on you for going to a place called the fucking Dragon Barrow. Pretty much the only thing in this blasted wasteland that doesn't want to kill you on sight is fucking Jar Squatter over here. He's actually kinda chill, to be honest. Not to worry though, the good men of General Radahn's army are fighting tooth and nail to beat back the rot by setting the entire landmass on fire. It really adds to the atmosphere, don't you think? But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that this rectal prolapse of a country is going straight into the F tier. While perusing the lands between for your dream home, a few of you intrepid explorers may stumble your way down to the lower levels, where you'll be greeted with beautiful starry-skied vistas and ancient Gothic-inspired architecture. Welcome to the Eternal Cities. Hidden far from the light of the Erd Tree, these places are relatively free from Queen Marika's madness, which should, in theory, be a net positive. But this is a FromSoft game, and you don't get to have nice things. Nope, this place is riddled with faulty electrics, a minor termite infestation, and a race of shamanistic goat people that may or may not sacrifice you to the old gods. Now, most of these things can be avoided by simply staying inside the cities themselves, but that presents a whole other slew of problems, like the roving bands of skinwalkers looking to harvest your organs, the less than friendly locals ready to whip out some Demon Slayer love breathing on your ass, and who could forget the giant sentient balls that'll hunt you down just for the hell of it. But if you can manage to avoid all of that, then it's not the worst place in the world to settle down. It's certainly very pretty, though of course being underground you'll have to get used to never seeing the sun again. Though, let's be honest, you're watching this video, so that's already a given. Despite the danger, this place honestly has everything you need to survive, so for that I'll slap it in the B tier. If you're a fan of Gothic architecture, panoramic mountain views and corporal punishment, then Volcano Manor is the place for you. Nestled in the serene peaks of Mount Gelmir, this marvel of modern craftsmanship is the tightest run ship in the dock, owing to the landlord being a megalomaniac with little dick syndrome. And unfortunately, living anywhere else on this godforsaken mountain is completely off the table. Surprisingly though, living in the manor isn't actually that bad of a prospect. The rooms are well furnished, and the lady of the manor keeps things in good order while her fat-ass husband spends all day sleeping. And you get to live here rent-free as long as you agree to sell your soul and spend your days hunting down people who didn't pay their taxes and ripping off their fingers. Now, on the off chance Rykard wakes his lazy ass up, he does have a tendency towards cannibalism, but as long as you don't get on his bad side, he probably won't eat you. No promises there though. Of course, all of what I just said goes out the window if you happen to be an Albinoric, in which case you'll be whisked off to Willy Wanker's torture factory and beaten within an inch of your life. For everyone else though, it's a pretty sweet deal. Sure, you'll be waking up in a lake of your own sweat every morning, the place is called Volcano Manor after all, but just do what you're told and try not to slip on your way up the rickety ass ladder to the front door, and you're good. I'll give it a solid C tier. The Altus Plateau is one of the most stunning areas in the game. Wide open plains of gold, millennia old monuments and architecture steeped in tradition. Of course, we can't talk about Altus without mentioning its crown jewel. The royal capital of Leyndell is truly a sight to behold, and by that I mean I'm genuinely impressed that the people here could stop killing each other for long enough to build a functioning city, and unlike most places in the lands between, it's only partially in ruins. This is in large part thanks to Morgoth, who seized control of the city and crowned himself king during the Shattering. Of course, being an omen, his citizens would probably lynch him if they found out he was running the show, and have absolutely zero clue what he looks like. But despite this, Morgoth has done a pretty good job of keeping things in order. So now, even as the world collapses around it, Leyndell remains a bustling hub of whatever the hell goes on here, with a fully trained professional army defending it, roads paved with gold, and whatever the fuck these things are. It's probably the closest thing you're gonna get to a halfway normal life in the lands between. Naturally, everyone and their gran wants to live here, and as a consequence the mortgage rates are through the fucking roof, and if you can't pay, it's down to the homeless shelter you go. The homeless shelter in this scenario being the world's most impressive crack house. Lovingly referred to as the subterranean shunning grounds, this place is where dreams of making it big in the city come to die. A patchwork shanty town spanning the entirety of the city's extensive sewer system, full of mutant rats, fent addicts, and oh god, please no! So how does one end up banished to the stinkhole? Well, as I said before, criminals, lowlives and crackheads are all punted down here, alongside people of a certain horned complexion. So just pay your rent, don't do crime, and don't be born with horns, and you'll be all good to live up on the surface. If the city life isn't calling out to you, you can always go live out in the countryside, where if you can avoid being soaked in projectile vomit or being roped into the flesh-peeling sex cult ran by gilfs, you should be okay. Just be warned that upon trying to re-enter the city, you may be fired upon if you try to refuse the stop and search. Overall, Altus is about what you'd expect from living in a medieval society. Not great, but a hell of a lot better than most of the alternatives. A tier. You know the lands between are pretty fucked up when the ass end of literal nowhere is actually worth considering as a place to live. Cold, desolate and empty, but in this scenario that's actually a blessing in disguise. The blessing is that this frigid, barren wasteland known as the Consecrated Snowfield is halfway free from Adolf the Eternal's influence. That being said, the downside is that this place has a distinct lack of pretty much everything you need to survive. Yes, rather unbelievably, the Arctic ice fields that famously have a whole lot of nothing, have a whole lot of nothing. Unless you want to live in a rock crevice and cannibalize 1,000-year-old giants, there's really not a lot to work with up here. Now, there are a few small towns still left scattered about here, but be warned, the residents here don't take too kindly to outsiders, so unless you want a shiv stuck up your ass on the walk back from work, you're better off just braving the wilderness. Alternatively, you orb ponderers out there could try commandeering one of the wizard towers dotted about the landscape. All you have to do to move in is throw the previous resident out the window and bang, the place is yours. Pre-furnished and everything. Just watch your step while climbing the stairs, quote unquote, to the front door, as apparently not one person in the 1,000-year history of this game thought about making a goddamn flight spell. Overall, the Mountaintops are a pretty mixed bag. The environment is a killer, but for some, it's a fair price to pay for being away from Queen Marika's influence. It's going in the D tier though.
The one who walks alongside flame
will one day find themselves in the floating OSHA violation that is Faram Azula. I mean, this place is a literal death trap. It's cloudy with a chance of boulders, birds with fucking swords strapped to their feet, and worst of all, not a goddamn guardrail in sight. What's worse, if you somehow manage to avoid tripping over these uneven floors and plummeting to your death, there's about a 95% chance the locals will strap you down to an altar and sacrifice your organs to their dragon god. Which, funnily enough, is only the second worst way to die in this place, as if you decide to take a nap on the wrong bed, you could end up slipping through into the back rooms. And by back rooms, I mean a time dilation field where you'll inevitably come face to face with the aforementioned dragon god.
I'm over here stroking my dick, I got lotion on my dick.
This place might be somewhat livable if you enjoy tightroping across what I'm sure were once structurally sound buildings, and living 3,000 feet up in the air might feel novel at first, but good luck getting back down again if you ever want to leave. If you want to turn your life into a permanent parkour course, then be my guest, but you'll be contending with dragon cults and motion sickness no matter how much spring is in your step. D tier. The Haligtree had the potential to be one of the finest civilizations the lands between had ever witnessed, but like everything Miquella touches, he left it a crumbling shell of what it could have been. Make no mistake, there is some semblance of society left here. In the hollowed roots of the Haligtree stands Elfile, a somewhat intact city that was meant to serve as a refuge for those persecuted by Marika's Golden Order. But, turns out when you invite a shed load of literal criminals to your society, things don't stay peaceful for too long. I never would have guessed. So now the upper levels of the city are basically the Elden Ring equivalent of Detroit. Though to be honest, the lower section isn't faring much better, as it's been infested with a certain red itchy fungal infection that I can't help but think I've seen somewhere before. Yup, someone thought it was a good idea to invite Malenia to the party, and now a sizable chunk of the population here have scarlet rot. Luckily, the ground itself doesn't have herpes this time around because Miquella actually did something useful for once and created a substance capable of absorbing the rot. So as it stands, the city is actually holding up pretty well, albeit with a really bad chlamydia epidemic going round. Not ideal, but certainly not unlivable. I'll give it a solid B tier. Lastly, we come to the Shadowlands. To be honest, I had a bit of trouble placing this one, as it's actually like 6 different mini areas all rolled into one, and it includes some of the best and worst places to live. So I'll be treating this as a wee lightning round, but also ranking the whole thing as one area at the end. On first arrival, we have the gravesite plain. Gravely beautiful, but those tombstones are all there for a reason, and that reason is quite hard to miss. These big bastards are prowling all over the Shadowlands, so keep your eyes on the sky no matter where you go. Gravesite Plain is just kinda okay. There isn't really much going on here, but there's a fuck ton more of these kinda okay areas in the Shadowlands, including Shadow Altus and Ruah. So I'm more or less just going to go over the places you specifically would and wouldn't want to go if you were here. Though, that being said, I don't think I need to tell you to stay the fuck away from Jagged Peak, but in case the perpetual lightning storm and numerous dragon corpses littering the mountainside flew over your head, stay the fuck away from Jagged Peak. This is like an F tier area. And if you aren't a Hornsent, then keep clear of Bonny Village unless you want to be skinned alive and rammed into a jar. Ballarat and Eneralim are fine all things considered. Maybe the locals are a little unfriendly and the building's a bit ruined, but you could do worse. You could also do better though, and if you're going to go live in any castle or city, then I'd pick the Shadowkeep or Castle Ensis over those other two any day. I hear the Shadowkeep in particular has a damn nice back garden. Living anywhere near Midra's Manse though is a fucking terrible idea. You'd probably catch every recorded lung disease just by stepping foot in that place. That is, if the bubos-ridden homeless people living in the woods outside don't get to you first. I can't help but feel like I'm forgetting somewhere. S tier. So this is it guys, the final tier list, and if you haven't already, be sure to comment down below where you'd like to end up, if anywhere. Cause me personally, I'd probably rather feed myself to a rune bear than live in any of these fucking places. But thanks again for clicking on this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a wee thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And if you'd like to check out the top 10 bosses with the most aura next, I'll leave a link to that video in the top right and in the description. Happy house hunting, and I'll catch you next time.